Your news isn't telling you about this with the Lakewood shooting that happened in Joe Osteen's church. Now, I'm going to tell you guys some information that you guys definitely have not heard of. So first, let's go ahead and see who is the shooter. Who is the shooter? So if you guys aren't aware, the shooter is this person right here. Their last name is Moreno, right? Their name, they go by Jeffrey, but their real name is Janice Ivonne Moreno, okay? So if you guys don't know, the shooter is a transformer, right? Just for the lack of better terms. The shooter is a pro-Palestine transformer. Okay? Please don't censor me, YouTube, for saying the P word. If you guys know what I'm talking about. So, as you guys can see, she has a very interesting background. And if you guys aren't aware, this is not a shocker because whenever you go to Islam and when you read Surah 9:5, what does it say? And when the inviolable months have passed, then kill the polytheists wherever you find them, and capture them, and besiege them, and sit and wait for them at every place of ambush. But if they should repent, establish prayer, and give zakah, let them go on their way. Indeed, Allah is forgiving and merciful. So, according to the Quran, if you don't believe the same belief system as me, I have the right to kill you and behead you. That is according to the Quran. But in the Bible, it's a totally different message. It's a message of love, it's a message of peace, it's a message of forgiveness and patience. And true forgiveness, not the forgiveness that Allah gives you once you agree with Him as some sort of tyrant. So this forgiveness is the one that says, Ye have heard that it hath been said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say unto you that you resist not evil, but whosoever shall smite thee on thy right cheek, turn to him the other also. And if any man will sue thee at the law and take away thy coat, let him have thy coat also. And whoever shall compel thee to go a mile, go with him twine. So, if you guys don't understand the concept of that in Judaism tradition, at least in the culture that it was in the Roman Empire, the Jews actually had to help the Roman soldiers according to law. They had to help them carry all their heavy gear. Man, woman, child, fat, skinny, weak, sick, strong, doesn't matter. You had to help the Roman soldiers walk a whole mile by law if they wanted to. Even if they didn't need the help and they just thought it was funny, you had to help them by law to walk a mile with all their gear. And they would have markers throughout the cities in order to see that you're helping them walk a full mile. But what Jesus says, if they ask you to walk a mile, you walk 2 miles with them. If they hit you on the left cheek, you turn the other also. It doesn't mean for you to go out and intentionally get beat up, but what it does mean is that whenever people resort to violence and when they act in violence, you don't have to return that with violence. You return that with a love that's out of this world, an unconditional love, a love that does not come from your own understanding, but a love that comes from God, a love that comes from the supernatural realm, a love that comes outside of this physical reality. That's the love that can make you love those who you should hate. That's the love that can make you forgive your enemies. That's the love that can help you to have peace and joy and forgiveness, even when it feels like they're completely in the wrong. That's the love that can overcome all hatred, that can overcome all fear, that can overcome all unforgiveness. That's the love of God. That's the love of Jesus Christ. And that's the difference between Islam and Christianity. So whenever we go to John 15, also it's so important and crucial in this whole situation with the Texas shooter, right? With Joel Osteen's church. Because it says, if the world hate you, you know that it hated me before I hated you. If before I hated you, if you were of the world would love his own, but because ye are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hateth you. Remember the word that I said unto you, the servant is not greater than his Lord. If they have persecuted me, they will also persecute you. If they have kept me saying, they will also keep yours also. Now, I'm not going to lie. I don't agree with Joe Osteen and his teachings. I personally think that he could be very heretical. I don't agree with the prosperity gospel message that he at least used to teach at one point. If he does that anymore, I don't know because I don't watch his current sermons. But I don't agree with a lot of the stuff that I've seen him teach personally. Things totally within context. But what I can say is, regardless if I agree with him or not, this is just pure evil. Like, doctrine aside and belief system aside, even if you think that he's like a fake Christian and he's just doing this for money, okay, cool. This is disgusting. This is disgusting. This should not be happening at our churches where people are in fear of their lives. Because regardless if you think Joel Osteen's a real Christian or not, how do you not know that the congregation doesn't have new baby Christians that just came to Christ, right? So you can't just say everyone in the church is not a real Christian. Because I myself, I'm not going to lie, I won't say any names, but I've listened to certain heretical people when I first came to Jesus Christ. Because when you're new in the faith, right, you eat a lot of baby food. You're not aware of how it is to be doctrined correctly biblically. You're not aware of how it is to have like all this discernment that you may have now in your spiritual mature walk, you know. So you have to think about it. They're babies spiritually, and so there might be a lot of Christians in that church, and it's very unfortunate because what God's word says is true. And then, as you guys can see, it says the shooter, a quote unquote woman in her 30s, died in a shootout with police. We all know, let's see, I believe it was an actual woman before the Transformers transition. But the point is, it's like, I mean, this person has a mental illness. They ended up finding out they have schizophrenia, but they're literally just practicing what Islam is it's teaching. You know, the false prophet Muhammad, he taught these things for you to enact in violence towards people who disagree with you. And you know the craziest thing about it, I know this person is like pro-Palestine and all that stuff, but go try that in Palestine. Go try that in Saudi Arabia. Go try that in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Iran, and Jordan, and Syria, and Egypt. Go see what they do with you then. Just walk around. Just walk around trying to be a man or a woman, the opposite gender. They'll hang you off a building because they disagree with you. Not saying that I agree with that, because that is absolutely disgusting. Just so that YouTube knows, I completely disagree with that, and nor am I promoting that, because that is disgusting and hatred, right? But what I am saying is that is what happens in the Middle East and Northern Africa and other parts of the world. So go ahead and try being a transformer. You don't have the privilege you do here in America. Yes, we are Christians, we're loving, we're forgiving, we're merciful, but we're not also going to be stepped all over, because I will tell you right now, in the Middle East, they would have done a lot of things to this man, woman, whatever that thing is, okay? But you know what? Here's where it gets worse, right? Because I know that you guys know that there is persecution in the Middle East, but I don't think people really know how much persecution there is in the Middle East. Like, if you just show the slightest hint of femininity as a man, or if you show masculinity as a woman, oh, you're going to have an issue. Like, if we look at Surah 434, it says that you can beat your wife. Like, I don't think a lot of people know that. So let's go ahead and read Surah 434. And again, I'm going to read this in context. It says, men are caretakers of women, since Allah has made some of them excel the others, and because of the wealth they have spent, so the righteous women are obedient. Guard in absence with the protection given by Allah. As for women of whom you fear rebellion, convince them and lead them apart in beds and beat them. Then if they obey you, do not seek a way against them. Surely Allah is the highest, the greatest. So it's like, you see a lot of these transformers in the Western civilization, such as America. They're so like pro-Islam, but they don't realize Islam is anti-woman. Islam is anti-homosexuals. And Islam is a very barbaric, pagan, disgusting, defiled religion. You know, in Islam, I'm going to tell you guys right now, because I can't even see the comments now because I haven't even uploaded the video yet. But I'm telling you right now, if this video does pop off and Muslims see my video, they're just going to say the typical boring stuff. They're going to either insult me, they're going to threaten me, they're going to threaten me or my family members. They're going to go ahead and say, oh, I look funny looking, or I don't know anything, or I'm dumb, because that's all Muslims know how to do. All they know how to do is insult and put others down, because they can't actually come up with a good defense for their faith, because their faith is very false. It doesn't come from God. So it looks like also everyone's putting a lot of emphasis on the shooter owning 2 AR-15 rifles. And you know, the thing is, I really don't care. You know, that's not going to make me anti-gun because they had control of weapons. You know, it's like they try to use this propaganda to say, oh, well, she had two AR-15 rifles, so that means you should be anti-gun now because look what guns do to destroy society. No, guns don't destroy societies. Mentally ill transformer thinking they're Muslim Palestinian shooters, they destroy society, not weapons, okay? Weapons can be a great form of self-defense, right? But the issue, let me go ahead, I don't want to get too political, but let me go ahead and tell you the issue with this. Because the issue is if they take away our weapons, right? Here's what happens. People such as criminals will still obtain weapons illegally, but not only that, you will have people such as the government that will have control of the weapons, which will break our amendment, right, that we have to own a weapon. And not only will the government have weapon, they can enforce things such as martial law because we no longer have the rights to bear arms, right? So I think it's very important that we take everything that we see on the news station with a grain of salt because they're obviously going to have some kind of misconceived message out there for people to perceive. And I think it's really sad what happened in Lakewood. Honestly, again, I don't agree with him on a lot of things, but it's really sad regardless because he's a human being and so are they. I don't think anybody should be shot up like that, honestly. Really, I don't think anybody should be shot up like that. And if you look at his response, he says, our community is devastated by today's events and grateful for the swift action of law enforcement. May the healing hands of God touch the lives of everyone involved and provide comfort during this difficult time. In the face of such darkness, we must hold on to our faith and remember evil will not prevail. God will guide us through the darkest of times. Together, we will rise above this tragedy and stand firm in our commitment to love and support one another. In times like this, our faith is tested, but it is also strengthened. We don't understand why things like this happen, but we know that God is in control. Please join me in continued prayer for healing and peace. So again, regardless if you agree or disagree with Joel Osteen, that's disgusting. And this whole school shooting and massive church shooting and carnival shooting and just like this big epidemic and shooting in America. I mean, if you guys don't see that it's controlled, I don't know how else to tell you guys. They literally want to take our gun rights away. And it's not just that, it's also a spiritual warfare because the devil does not like God. He does not like the things of God. So I think the best thing we can do is just to pray for the hurting families out there in this situation and just to have discernment in these situations as well because the news will definitely lead you astray if you don't have the wisdom of God. So if this video was edifying for you guys, please go ahead and share, like, and subscribe, and I hope that you guys have a blessed day.